And welcome back, everybody. We are now going to head into the feature presentation of tonight's Team Gravity Fight Nights. It's going to be Axiom's Ryung versus Dead Pixels True. We've even made a quick trip, me and Kieran and Cybert, to Korea. That's right, guys.
We have indeed.
We have flown to the Korean server to let these two guys play on their home turf. And I'm expecting some good stuff out of this matchup.
Indeed, with two crazy players like Axiom's Ryung and Dead Pixels True, we expect nothing less than a spectacular match. It's a best of 7. One player takes home $60, the other player will take home $20. Who will be the big winner? Well, let's find out. Team Gravity presents Fight Night.
Y'all ready for this?
All right, here we go. Game number 1 in this best of 7 for an $80 prize pool. Winner gets 60, loser gets 20. No one's going to walk away empty-handed. But, well, someone's going to be a sad, sad bear at the end of this. And the other person's going to be happy. That's how every match goes. Nothing different. Except the fact that these two guys are Koreans at the top of their game. And that is certainly something to be looking forward to as far as things go. And you know what? If you want to ever re-reference this match, guys, after seeing it, you want to just check out these guys and their openings and their builds and how they are, reacting to things in the game because you want to learn and not just be entertained. You can always check this back out later by clicking the videos tab on our channel because we have these uploaded as VODs. Okay, so
yeah.
Game number 1 on Inferno Pools. It's a TVZ. We do have the red Zerg spawning on the the lower bottom side. Lower side. Sorry, Pig and Puck still have my brain all messed up, but we do have the red Zerg on the bottom right-hand side, guys. He is the player representing Dead Pixels. Ladies and gentlemen, this is True.
And in the north, the blue Terran from Team Axiom, this is Ryung.
Okay, so now it's time to calm down and start looking at these games normally again.
Yes, you have a point. After that last series, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Mm-hmm. It's destroyed my confidence as a caster.
And for good reason.
But I did get the proxy robo right. So with
You
that,
did.
I'm actually good now. Okay, so there is a 15 hatch coming out of True, and he's going to go ahead and follow that with Gas Pool afterwards. In the meantime, for Ryung, we do have him opening up with Reaper. So it's something standard. Ah, that's comforting.
And of course, lots of players in their TVZ matchups, they love that Reaper expand opening just like you were talking about. And no surprise here. Now, Axiom Ryung, he's not a player who's got a lot of big tournament competitive matches played recently. I know he did play in the Shoutcraft Legacy of the Void tournament that recently happened, but that's not quite the same as just playing regular old HOTS. And we have the hi coming down from Dead Pixels True in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, he has made an appearance into his opponent's base with his very first Overlord, I might add. That's always a really good feeling as Zerg, by the way, right? I mean, you're on a map where someone could be in 3 different locations, and your first try, you already are just knee-deep into your opponent's base, seeing everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good victorious feeling.
Now, Dead Pixels True, he did drop down that single geyser. He got himself that 100 gas. He started his speed, and he pulled every single drone back off of that Vespine geyser, put them back into minerals, and now he's just continuing to power those drones for now. So, nothing crazy with the, slowlings. Anything like that is not going to be happening. Of course, he's going to be waiting for that speed, but this third CC has begun for Axiom's Ryung.
Yes, and I've noticed that all these things rhyme. True said he, Ryung said she, and now he's throwing down a third CC.
Oh, yeah, Droopy with the sick rhymes, man.
I know. I
You're
got
a poet.
the bars. I am
You're
a poet.
and you didn't even know that all of those words were going to rhyme.
No.
I think that's how that saying goes.
Mm-hmm. So with the third CC on the way, we're also going to see double Hellion production from the factory. And that is going to, I guess, be a way for Ryung to get in some kind of harassment while buying him some time here to get up a very nice economy for himself.
Indeed. Now, we do have those 12 Lings on the way, but also the layer coming out from Dead Pixels True. That is, of course, going to be before the third base. That's, of course, going to be before, like, that, I think it was before the 6-minute mark, as just barely before the 6-minute mark, but technically before that. And Blue Flame even on the way for Axiom's Ryung. Now, these Lings going to be coming up here. They almost get the surround on these Hellions. They do manage to barely skate away, and now that Reaper is going to be coming into effect that he built earlier in this game. The Mule is not being targeted down, at least not just yet, and the majority of these Lings have been cleaned up. Only a couple of SCVs going down here. And, oh, more Lings coming in across the map. They're just flooding over, but it's drones, drones, drones after this.
Oh, yeah, this is looking pretty rough right here for Ryung, letting in some of these Lings into the main. The Natural's completely shut down right now. And looks like these Lings are continuing to get in these SCV kills. My goodness.
Mm-hmm. Now, the control from Ryung is actually pretty sick on these Hellions. He avoided more than one surround there, but the damage has been done. Dead Pixels True, again, he shut down that natural expansion, even causing it to catch fire as it's slowly whittling away that HP, and the Hellions able to chase off those Zerglings. And the follow-up, the Roach Warren, and +1 attack for Dead Pixels True.
My goodness, this is such an aggressive setup here from True. He already was aggressive, of course, with this Ling run by, right? Now he's going to follow up, staying on 2 base. Well, it looks like he's moving a drone to build a third, but he's immediately going into +1 attack and going to have Roach speed. And then when these two things are done, I imagine that he's going to mount another attack again. He's already starting to produce some Roaches.
Yep, and that will, of course, be fueled by that gold base economy. And everyone knows that gold bases and Roaches tend to go hand in hand. Now, we do have the armory on the way for Ryung, which of course means that if he continues to pump out these Hellions 3 at a time like he currently is doing, they may eventually turn into Hellbats. We'll have to see exactly where those end up going. Now, Ryung, interestingly enough, hasn't actually scouted out his opponent. So first he's actually going to be heading to the wrong base. He's going to be scouting out like, oh, nope, he's not over there. And then I'm guessing he might just head on directly south. And oh, that's going to be a super late scout.
This is weird because True had his Overlord go into Ryung's base very early on, so Ryung should know where his opponent is. So I don't know why he is doing this right now, but he definitely should know that True is to the bottom of him. But anyways.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Now, we do have the engineering bay finishing up, but what is already finished is that blue flame for these Hellions. And the unit count, currently 16 Hellions out on the map. Now, we've got a number of Roaches popping right now. They're getting some nice damage before the Hellions are able to get any shots off on these drones. And some nice shots for the Hellions, but they do get cleaned up before too much damage is done.
Yeah, I think the Roaches were very quick to the punch there. Just a lot of them already ready for those Hellions, and so we see really just only 4 workers killed by Ryung in that run by. Hard to say that was worth it.
But we do have, there's the GG as the Roaches crash into the natural expansion of Ryung. He drops out of that game, and Dead Pixels True will take our first map in this best of 7 main event.
Yeah, I think the Ling run by in the very beginning caught Ryung off guard. And, you know, he did the best he could with the tools he had. Didn't lose too many of those Hellions. But the problem was he lost a lot of workers in it. Just looking at this workers active graph, lost like about 8. Doesn't sound like a lot, except at that point in time, you only have 28. So that's like 30% of your workforce that you just suddenly saw leave. So with that, True in a commanding position to close out the game is now 1-0 in this matchup.
Yep, but again, with a best-of-7 series on our hands, both players have a little bit of leeway. Now, I feel like, although I don't know this is necessarily true, but I feel like True is the player that's been a little bit more active in top tournaments more recently. Of course, he did attend, I know, DreamHack Moscow and some other events as well. And I mean, even in season 2 of 2014, he did indeed place, I think it was top 4 in the GSL. So he's been maybe a little bit more active than Ryung. But Ryung, of course, is still a fantastic player who has a lot of pedigree himself. We'll see if he's able to bring it back in the next couple of games. But for now, things are looking pretty good for Dead Pixels True.
All right, so we'll see what Ryung's going to pick here for the next map.
And, Loser's pick.
Absolutely. And, you know, some of these maps, in casting these, you know, for the new season maps, some of them seem to have pretty good leanings towards, like, certain races, I think. Particularly the maps like, Secret Spring is a good example, you know, where the naturals behind that main. I've mentioned this a lot, but it's because it really has played into the hands of Terran players a lot. So I'm curious to see if Ryung's going to go pick something like that, or maybe Vonnie Research Station, a good place for him to, you know, sort of stabilize himself here in this series and be in a good position to tie this series.
Yep, he of course has lots of time to think about that, but we'll see exactly what he decides to go for, because again, I don't know that he's necessarily been favoring any of these maps. We will have to see what exactly he chooses, but there's lots of options, and maybe he will go for one of those maps which has kind of been favoring Terran a little bit more.
All right, so still working on that map there for Game 2, but for now, guys, tell us what you think about this series. Tell us what kind of suggestions you may have, what kind of players you want to see in the future. And if you can't do that because you're on Team Liquid, well, you haven't been listening, man. You gotta listen. You gotta listen. Come to hitbox.tv/Team Gravity. There's a party going on in the chat right now, and you're missing out if you're not here. And we are having a new subscriber promotion, guys. It's $5 to subscribe, but guess what? You're not only just getting the typical benefits of being a subscriber on Team Gravity's Hitbox channel with the emotes and all the extra chat functionality, but you are also getting $5 from G2A.com. It is a website where you can buy a lot of video games, and you get basically your money's worth right back immediately in this promotion from Hitbox and G2A. So big thanks to them, and make sure you take advantage of that.
Indeed. Now, our next map, you did indeed kind of call it. You were talking about Secret Spring, but we've got Vonnie Research Station, or maybe Vanni or Vanny. I don't know. The jury is still out on the pronunciation. But we've got the Research Station, which does have that in-base expansion. So potentially that's what Ryung was thinking about. He was like, you know, I'm going to go with one of those in-base natural maps.
Yep, so let's see if Ryung can take advantage of that here in Game 2, because you know what? A lot of money's on the line here. $60 for the winner, $20 to the runner-up.
And, of course, those bragging rights as well, which may mean more to some players. You never know.
All right, welcome to game number 2. This player right here at the very top is nursing a 0-1 deficit, but it is a long series, and he has chosen a map that he feels comfortable playing on. So let's see if he can right the ship. It is the Blue Terran on the very top of Vonnie Research Station, representing Axiom Esports. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryung.
And in the southern position, the purple Zerg up 1-0 in this best of 7. Dead Pixels True.
And I suppose these two fellas are pretty familiar with each other. Interesting they're choosing to conduct this conversation in English, because, you know, they could do it in Korean if they wanted to.
They could indeed. But one thing that you can't hide, even if you are speaking in Korean, is a proxy barracks. That transition.
One of these.
Yeah, man. We got that.
And there's a gas as well, by the way.
There is indeed. Yeah, so we've got directly into that gas for our friend Ryung. Now, Dead Pixels True has yet to throw down his spawning pool, who's banking up those minerals, and now the drone is walking its way over to that natural expansion.
Oh boy, that's a 15 hatch in the face of, well, a proxy Reaper. So this is, if there's anything that Ryung wants out of True right now, it would be this. So it's up to him now to make things happen for himself.
Yep, the only thing that he could really other hope for that's better than this is something like Suicidal if, you know, he went double hatch before Pool or something like that, which is not going to be happening, very fortunately for True. He is not that silly to go double hatch before Pool on something like Vonnie Research Station.
He's not Puck. He's not going to build a robotics facility on the other side of the map.
That's true. That's true. This is not that crazy series. We can get back to normal town.
Right.
As we do
I
have
gotta
that
stop bringing that up.
That perfect prediction, man. Though that perfect prediction.
I have to rub it in while it's still fresh. We do have a Reaper out now here for Ryung, as well as a SCV, which may serve as a constructor for a bunker, but nope, it's just actually going to join in on the attacking here.
Hey, that extra bit of DPS, maybe it ends up being one extra drone kill, and Ryung does not actually manage to grab one of the drones, turns it into a Spore Crawler, which is a little bit unfortunate for Dead Pixels True, but it's better than a dead... Well, it's better than dead pixels in the form of that drone. Now, no drone losses presently, but some of the drones are getting dangerously low on HP. And there, the Zerglings do indeed pop. They're trying to get the surround, but it's not quite going to be enough. And now we've got 2 Reapers here. A third one is on the way.
Oh my gosh, finally, one drone is lost. We can now call them dead drones True, as well as Ling. But still modest damage only done by these Reapers. Oh, almost walking into the clutches of those Zerglings. Ryung has to back up. He does lose that SCV, but the Reapers are still free to roam.
Yeah, I mean, 6 Zerglings, 1 drone, potentially a second drone, although Ryung has to be careful, though. We've got 10 more Lings on the way. Speed has begun, but a 4th Reaper is also being constructed. And that Proxy Barracks, I mean, it's still at full HP. There's still lots of more units that can be produced from it.
And also, we are seeing a transition into Factory coming out of Ryung right now. So whenever this Reaper harass finally subsides, if it ever does, we're going to see Hellions coming as a result of this.
Word. These Reapers, I mean, one of them was so low on HP, took an extra shot from a Queen. Then these other guys did indeed jump up into the claws of Zerglings. And these Hellions that potentially could be on the way could not arrive fast enough for these guys.
Yeah, well, the Reapers have healed it up. They have healed up, and but still going to back off for a bit and just wait for the Hellions. It's a good follow-up, by the way. You forced out a lot of Zerglings from the Zerg player, right? And then you have Hellions to follow it up and just dispatch all the Zerglings that were just created.
Yeah, and even one of those Reapers escaping with 1 HP, and it's like, you know, maybe 20, 30 seconds before speed actually finishes up. Axiom's Ryung is just like, oh, you know, it's reaching that time where speed should about be finished up, given what my opponent probably went for. So in that case, I'm just going to go ahead and back off with my Reapers, and that's, of course, the just solid, strong play that you expect to see from a guy like Ryung.
That is absolutely a good point. I mean, these players all have internal clocks. They know exactly what their opponent's going to do in a certain situation. They try to force predictable outcomes by doing aggressive plays like this. And then with that, they're going to know exactly how to react. And you see Ryung pulling out at exactly the right time.
Yep. Now, we do have that natural orbital. Of course, it's considerably later than the second base of our Zerg player, but it's starting to get underway for our Terran player. Axiom Ryung going to be adding that on. Follows up with a Viking, and of course, he's currently banking 4 Hellions inside of his main base with those 4 Reapers.
So there goes a Viking to do some Overlord control here. One Overlord is going to go down. That's the only one. Oh, no, there's one more over the third base of what would be a third base for Ryung. He is going to go ahead with an Armory as well. So we saw him go for an early Armory last game. Didn't really have an opportunity to make much use of it, but I can only imagine that he wants to turn these Hellions into Hellbats, and that's kind of the idea for him.
Yeah, lots of Terran players still love their Hellbat play, but we do have the layer on the way for our Zerg player. But more interestingly, perhaps, is the Banshee that is currently on the way for Ryung.
Oh, yes, that is going to be serving as a pretty interesting point of harass. But he is researching Cloak, though, so he is not completely dedicating into that whole, Cloak Banshee business. But, even just with an air component, that annoys Zerg greatly, because really at this point in the game, all they have for anti-air is just Queens, right? They're great in a lot of ways, but they also are relatively slow, and they can't venture off creep. So, a Banshee poking at that natural is not going to be a bad choice for Ryung here.
Indeed. Now, the Spire does begin. Ryung is once again going to be coming down towards the third base of his opponent. He already checked it just a few moments ago, but he's down there again. He's just wanting to keep tabs on this and figure out exactly what his opponent is doing. Because, of course, if he sees no third base taken, then he knows it's some sort of aggro two-base play, and he's going to hop in here. He may actually see the Spire and know it's two-base Muta, but he's definitely going to see the Banelings.
Okay, these Hellbats going to town on these Banelings before they morph, but some of them do end up copping out, and that leads to a good number of Hellbats dying. The Banshee not accomplishing all too much in its short existence. Queen's taking it out. Not that it would have mattered if he even had Cloak, because there is an Overseer, and we are seeing the Lings clean up the Hellbats here and there. Oh my gosh, these drones.
Oh man, there was a moment there where the drones potentially could have just been all wiped out, but 6 of them do go down. The Reaper is still alive. He will get a 7th before going down himself, and now the Lings flooding out to the other side of the map. We do have Blue Flame on the way, though. And I think a second Armory as well.
Oh, Spire's about to pop here. Not a lot of resources, though, for True right now to put into Mutas just yet. And you know what? This is where Vani Research Station is going to help out Ryung, just right here, right now, right? We are seeing a Bane bust that's about to happen. It's a lot less area for Ryung to defend, but the wall's going to go down still.
Oh, yeah. And of course, the Hellions are now going to be on the defense. The Thors could potentially pop out to help deal with these Zerglings, but for now, 4 SCVs going down. The Zerglings are getting completely wiped up, as even without Blue Flame, these Hellions deal quite nicely with the Lings, and only 6 SCVs have gone down, but the attack is not over just yet. Okay, now it's over. As even the Overseer... I mean, you might as well get the worth for it. That Overseer is pretty much doomed to die anyways. Contaminate on the factory, just going to be that much more annoying.
Yep. It ended right there, and it was actually a really good hold. It was looking pretty dangerous. All those Lings were ending up in that main base, in that mineral line. And a couple of Bane hits unloaded on those SCVs, too. In fact, that's why we see a lot of them in orange and red health. But just one more could have just spelled doom for Ryung. And if you take a look at the workers killed, he only lost 10, or only lost 7, actually, in that whole skirmish. That's pretty remarkable.
Compared to the 10 that he's killed of his opponent, you bring up a very good point, and that attack just didn't do quite the damage that Dead Pixels True was hoping it would do. Now, potentially, these Mutas might be able to find a soft spot. The missile turret isn't quite up just yet, and some of these SCVs are a little bit weak. 2 of them go down, starting to equalize those numbers. A third one gets eliminated, but now, I mean, these Mutas, they have limited areas that they can actually hit these mineral lines at.
And this is such a few number of Mutas, too. I mean, there's only 4 that came over here, and that is due in large part to the fact that, well, it's a combination of True going for a huge Bane bust that really didn't kill all too much in the grand scheme of things. And then, in order for him to do that, he also delayed his third as well. So he's not really armed with a good economy right now to be cranking out the Mutas that you would expect normally at this time. So just 4 Mutas, not really going to do much as far as hurt Ryung.
Yep. That's a great point there. I mean, we even have the Banshee being rebuilt as well. A second one is on the way. Now, Ryung scans. He sees potentially what he wants to see. I don't know if it's exactly what he wants to see, but we got more Banelings coming in. And I mean, Hellbats and Thors, they're notorious for absorbing so many Banelings.
Yeah, what True right now is trying to be killing, or expecting to be killing, is Bio with this kind of army composition. But Ryung is going for mech. And we're seeing these Banelings unload themselves into these Thor, and the Thor just don't even care, really.
Yep, the Thor's continuing to pressure on forward. The Banshee is also here just to make sure that there's that extra bit of DPS. The Queen's getting pushed back. 7 SCVs have been cleaned up. I'm not actually sure where those were from. I'm guessing they were just brought for the repair. But we do have this third hatchery going to be getting cleaned up. And, of course, the Hellbats, notorious for going on those drones. More Banelings rock up. They detonate on the Thors, but yeah, that's not the hits that you want.
Yeah, I mean, given that these two games, we saw Ryung going for the armory early last game, which indicated he may have planned to go mech later in that game as well. Here, he clearly has done this. It might be time for True to consider going with Roach instead.
Yep, and as the units lost tab continues to skyrocket for True, almost double the resources lost. The third base has been established, and Ryung just has to deal with Lings, and it's only like 7 Lings heading across the map. I can't even call it a Ling flood.
Well, they did grab an SCV there, so that refinery is going to be halted for a bit. But
That's
yeah,
true.
for the most part, this is a rough spot to be in if you're that Zerg player. 2 bases right now. On way less drones, by the way, than the Terran players' SCVs, 44 to 59. So you're behind in just about every aspect of the game. This is going to be a tough remainder of the game here for True.
Now, Ryung does have that +3 attack on the way, and we do have the Infestors coming on out for True, but Infestors, we'll see how well they actually do versus, Thors and Hellbats.
I suppose fungals are going to have to be a big part of the equation, maybe trapping a lot of those Hellbats in place. And the good thing about that is you can't split the Hellbats against the incoming Banelings, so that is, something that you can do with the Infestors. And then Neural Parasite. Hey, you can neural a Thor here and there.
That's true.
Yeah, so that can turn the tide in a battle. But, of course, you're going to need a lot of other units to tank for those Infestors. Need a lot of other units on the ground.
Now, we do have Lings heading into, well, we'll see where they try to head into. They're going to try to make it into the main base, but they're not quite going to make it in there. With the Hellions blocking the ramp, the supply depots do get lowered, though, and 2 Lings make it in. Now, more importantly, the Lings at the third base, they're a little bit more interesting because they're actually getting SCV kills, while on the front lines, Thors, Hellbats, and Banshees pushing right down the middle of the creep for Ryung. He's looking to do some damage.
Yeah, True actually did a pretty good run by there with those Lings on the third. Yeah. If you take a look at the workers killed right now, it's actually even, believe it or not. But that's in large part because Ryung has been bringing SCVs with his battles, so they do end up dying. But still, we see Ryung ahead in the economy. Now he's going to look to push the envelope further in this attack.
Now, those fungal growths that you talked about a little bit earlier, but Thor's notoriously good versus the Queens. More Banelings rolling in here. They're able to clean up some of the Thors with the help of the Zerglings, and this attack has been routed, but again, that third base is just not really doing anything for Dead Pixels True. Manor Mules.
Manor Mules raining down on True right now. And, it's nothing malicious. I mean, these two guys were having a little friendly banter early on, so it's not like this is some hardcore, like, suck on this VM. But nonetheless, Ryung, a show of strength there, demonstrating, look, man, I'm way ahead of you in economy. And he is. 68 to 45 workers right now, even after losing SCVs left and right with these attacks. And then, of course, he's been on 3 bases for way longer. True, only wishes he could say the same for himself.
And once again, the third hatchery ends up going down. The Lings were on the wrong side of the map. GG! Axiom Ryung takes game number 2.
Yep, and like that, we are back to 1-1 for the series. And that is a good map for Terran, I have to say. It is not a shabby map. Now, it's not like Ryung was dropping all over the place on that map, but I do think having that relatively small choke to defend in that Bane bus helped out a lot. And we'll see what True's going to go for here as far as picking a map. I'm going to guess Overgrowth.
I mean, he's always got that option. It's one of those maps that these guys are going to be so familiar with. And, of course, everyone knows Overgrowth. So, yeah, it is, not going to be surprising if Dead Pixels True ends up choosing that. But what a just kind of odd game. I don't know that I see very many, big Ling, Bane, Queen into Infestor plays versus Mech for Zerg. So, I mean, maybe, Dead Pixels True, similar to Puck or Pig, didn't want to show off too much.
Indeed. So, we have our next selection now for Game 3. It's going to be Deadwing. And just a reminder, guys, don't forget to follow us here on hitbox.tv. We're doing this every week. So if you follow us here as well as on Twitter, @TeamGrav, you will be notified when our fight night will go live, and we are promising to have just players of this caliber every single week. We've been having this for the last 5. Last week it was Masa versus Violet. And we've had Patience versus Supernova before that. Fantasy versus Hydra. These are legit players, guys, not your run-of-the-mill stuff. And then our preliminaries. Look at our preliminary today. We had Minigun and Koss. Like,
yeah,
that looked more like a headliner to me.
Yeah, and then of course we had Puck versus Pig to kind of fill the middle of the night, and that was just a wonderful, wonderful series. But to top it all off, Axiom Ryung versus Dead Pixel True, and of course this is brought to you by Hitbox TV. If you're watching the stream, then that is where it's coming from, and you may be watching on another website embedded, but they're the guys who are fronting the money to play these players, to get them to show us some fantastic matches. So a thank you to Hitbox TV, and game number 3 is coming right up.
Okay, so both these players are tied 1-1 right now. This is that pivotal game or match-changing or series-changing game. That's the right way to put it. And, yeah, I mean, whoever wins that game 3 after an early 1-1 tie will have the momentum going forward for the second half of the series. So it is a nice win here, no matter what the circumstance. So let's see who's going to be able to pull that off. We do have the red Zerg player spawning on the bottom right-hand side of Deadwing LE. This is the player representing Dead Pixels. He goes by the name of True.
And in the north, the blue Terran player bringing it back from that 0-1 deficit to tie the score from Team Axiom. It is Ryung.
So last game, Ryung did do a proxy barracks to do just a bunch of Reapers. Nothing too crazy, I suppose. That's a little sarcasm. But yeah, he went with a bunch of Reapers early on to harass True. It did do a decent amount of work, force out a lot of Lings. That's always something that you would love to do against a Zerg opponent early in the game. And, you know, True tried to go for a nice big Bane bust, staying on 2 bases for a long time. It didn't do as much damage as he needed it to, and that just kind of left him behind.
Yep. Now, this map, of course, very, very different than Vonnie Research Station, and you talked about specifically, Droopy, some of the differences between the two maps, from the in-base expansion to the fact that it's just a 2-player map, and now we were on Deadwing, which, of course, gives you that 4-player match, and we saw the 15 hatch, now the pool coming up for Dead Pixels True, going to be following it up with that gas. But it's the Reaper expand, and as we saw in game number 1, Axiom Ryung decided to keep the Reaper kind of at his natural ramp just to guard away from any incoming threats. In this game, it looks like he's going to be going directly for the scout with it, though.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Big map, lots of ground to cover, and it's nice to know where your opponent's coming from. Funny thing, of course, ironically, is in game number 1, Ryung didn't know where True was coming from, even though he should have based on the Overlord coming in. But he's going to go ahead and make sure he does his homework this time.
Yep. Maybe he's... Oh, no, never mind. He's doing the same thing, just patrolling at, well, now the 3rd base ramp, but just patrolling right there, wanting to keep an eye on his opponent. Now, however, we do have the Overlord Scout going directly up the middle of the map, which I believe flies over the kind of primary proxy locations for a Terran player, because you're going to probably proxy in between one of the bases, and that area where the Overlord flew is the great place to throw down those proxy racks. We do have speed on the way, as the Reaper is going to be coming in for Ryung.
All right, so the Reaper's going to make its appearance here. Going to try to go after some Lings. The Queen is out, though. That's going to limit the ability for the Reaper to get too far into that natural. We are seeing Ryung back off a little bit here.
Yep, he's confirmed where his opponent is, and for now, that's going to be the majority of his information. He's going to potentially poke back in, see if he can do something, but Reaper is going to be forced to pull back. Now, we have seen Ryung play that mech style. He's adding on the starport now, so we'll have to see exactly where he decides to go with it, but he has dropped down that extra gas.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the factory start pumping out double Hellions here. And, you know, the thing about Terran is they're always going to go transition into 1-1-1 after that expansion. Well, not always, but many times they will. And the cool thing about it is from that, there's so much versatility. They can still go bio. They can still go mech. Either way, they're going to need all three buildings anyways. So we'll see what Ryung decides to do, if he'll show a little bit of versatility in going for bio. This is a map that there's a lot of potential to drop on, particularly with all these chasms around these bases. So, you know what? Going bio here, not a bad choice, but mech also is not bad either because all these bases, as I say many times, on Deadwing are clustered up. You really have one main entrance to guard. If you have tanks just kind of lined up, sieged up there in a line, mech is not a bad choice either on this map.
Yeah, it certainly can work out for you. And of course, we've seen in some games those backdoor rocks be super annoying. True is going to be cleaning up those rocks with a couple of lings there. He's at least got them attacking, but we do have the Hellions moving out. The first tank is on the way as well. And we do have the Baneling nest on the way for Dead Pixels True.
Interesting. So 2 bases, once again, going with the lair in the main. This has been True's calling card here. Not taking the third all too soon, and then maybe opening up an avenue for him to get in some kind of aggression. Because, you know what? I can see it. I mean, it's easy to say, you know, why doesn't the guy just sit back in macro, right? But then the thing is, Terran have so many methods at their disposal to harass you early game. It gets tiresome trying to defend it. So if you can actually be the one with the foot on the gas and you be the aggressor, you can just sort of make Terran play at your own pace.
That is indeed true. Now, we did have the drop end up getting spotted by an Overlord and a Ling. Ryung is going to be dropping out those units. Third hatch is on the way for our Zerg player as well as the Spire, and he's just droning up after this. He did go Lings for the defense, but he's of course going to be following it up with those drones, getting his economy rolling, and of course moving up towards that higher drone count for the 3-base play that he wants.
Yeah, this is interesting. This drop right here is not a drop that went straight towards a base or a mineral line or anything. It was to actually fly from one Overlord to another and take those out. So, you know what? That was had to have been pretty annoying here for True as he's trying to remake these Overlords every time one goes down.
Yeah. I mean, he's actually lost a surprising 4 throughout the entirety of this game. Of course, the Viking, kind of I believe, yeah, the Vikings got 2 of those kills. The Marines have the other 2. So that's really, really annoying. I mean, just, you know, before even the 10-minute mark, losing those 4 Overlords for True. He's transferring the drones, though, and we do have that bio composition starting to get churned out by Ryung.
Yeah, and we're seeing 4 mutas on the way as well right now by True. He did end up taking that third before going for any kind of huge attack. But here's this one Ling run by, immediately met by Hellions. He's going to just immediately back up there.
Yeah. He knows he can bide his time. He's, of course, getting Baneling speed, which is so important. And he's starting to get his creep spread on the way. It's not the craziest that we've ever seen. He doesn't have, you know, 2 queens right at the front constantly pushing creep or anything like that. But he is, you know, starting to work that creep towards his opponent, which, of course, is very important in dealing with any sort of biomine composition.
All right, these mutas are finally about to make their appearance. He's got a better number of them this time around, 7. I mean, that last game he had 4, and I was like, okay, man.
And then he like
sure what
flew,
that's gonna accomplish.
Yeah, basically flew into two Thors. In this game, he almost flew into 2 Widow Mines, but now it's into 2 of the missile turret. He is able to pick off a couple of the SCVs. The Marines are also here, preemptively stemmed to help deal with these mutas. And there's just not a lot of angles for these mutas to come in and attack. Ryung has covered his base as well. He's, of course, got the spread of the Widow Mines, which can do that massive damage. But for now, the mutas have been beaten back.
Oh my gosh, in the center of the map, are those Lings going to turn around and catch that army? Or the other way around, whatever. Are the Marines going to catch those Lings?
Yeah.
But looks like they do back off here for a bit. I think Ryung's searching for him. He's like, where are those things going? I know I can take them easy because none of them are Banelings right now. But Ryung is just going to move forward. Those Lings now are going to sneak past and try to do a run by. Oh my gosh.
I'm actually... Oh, nope. They don't quite make it into the natural, but now we have that pocket 4 base established for True. Now the Banglings coming in, Ryung trying to split back, and he does get the majority of his units off of creep, while they tank and a couple of the, well, nothing is really left on the front lines. Dead Pixel True takes another map.
Man, that engagement went really poorly for Ryung. No splitting against those Banelings, and
yeah,
just seeing his entire army evaporate before his eyes, it was a GG. So that's a rough situation there. And another thing is Ryung didn't have a third command center going for him. So that was like practically an all-in at 13 minutes. And so when that's the case, you can't really continue onwards. So we are now seeing True back up 2-1 now.
Yeah, but we've got that back and forth story between these two guys, and Ryung certainly did eat a lot of those Banelings, but as we saw in Vanny Research Station, he's not totally outclassed by True. He can give it just as well as he receives it, and we'll see what the next maps do take into effect. But yeah, not quite the legendary Marine splits and Bio splits that we've seen from some of the other Terran players.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to head into game number 5 now. Yes. No, 4. It is 4.
Yeah, 4.
It is 4. It is 4.
But
and,
the map is Overgrowth, which we were kind of talking about how this might be True's pick a little bit earlier. In this case, we've got, I don't know actually who ended up selecting the first map, but they did veto down to the first map, which was a 4-player map, and then Ryung, of course, goes the 2-player route with Vanny Research Station. Dead Pixels True goes back to a 4-player map, Deadwing, and now back to a 2-player map. Axiom Ryung, I mean, he doesn't want a lot of space. He's just liking his 2-player maps.
Yeah, that actually is quite the trend we're seeing here. Small sample size, but still.
Yeah.
And as True's trying to get himself situated in the lobby, we want to remind you guys, thank you for watching. We're very glad you guys are here with us. Hope you have been enjoying everything and having such amazing player lineups today. We're looking to continue this. Let us know. Support us by following us here on hitbox.tv/teamgravity, as well as subscribe. And today, I don't know if it's just today, but there is a sick promotion going on. You get a $5 gift card from G2A.com. It's a website that sells video games. And for subscribing. No strings attached. Yep. You just get the card in your email. It's probably a code, but basically, you're getting your money's worth right off the bat. Plus, on top of that, all the benefits of subscribing to us on hitbox.tv.
However, we are into our 4th map, and we have got some hopefully exciting games left to see. Who is our first player?
Well, I'm taking a look at this Purple Zerg here on the upper right-hand side. He is the player who is now leading 2-1 after mounting a nice engagement at the very bottom of Deadwing last game. Just not the best micro from his opponent. That's why he is here with a 2-1 lead. So we do have here a player for Dead Pixels, affectionately known as D-Pix. He goes by the name of True.
And in the southwest corner from Team Axiom, the blue Terran player, Ryung.
Okay, so last game...
Oh,
sorry.
If you guys, real quick, if you guys aren't watching the stream on hitbox.tv, then you're missing out in the just hilarious Valentine's themed poll. What is the best color of candy heart? So, I mean, you can't replace value like that.
What bothers me is there is no option in this poll for any of the Team Gravity colors.
Ooh, that's true. There is also not a proxy 2-Rax color.
There is no blue in this poll.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a proxy 2-Rax, no gas either, so it's going to be strictly Marines.
Yep. And, I mean, maybe this is the exact reason why Ryung likes these maps, because he can open a little bit more aggro, a little bit more cheesy. And, of course, unfortunately, for Dead Pixels True, he doesn't necessarily know about this. He's unfortunately not going to have the scout on those particular 2 racks.
Yeah, I was thinking there's potential for the second Overlord here over by that gold base for True to see it, but it's not going in the right path anymore. So it looks like this 2 racks proxy will go into full swing. We're going to probably have a bunker being built at some point, if not 2, given the presence of these 2 SCVs. And, well, True is going to have a handful to deal with in about a few seconds.
Yep, there's lots of SCVs, so even if True ends up, ends up dealing with one of the SCVs, there's always more SCVs, and now the Queen is making her way down here. Dead Pixels True technically hasn't quite seen it, and just now he gains vision of it. He's like, aha! There's that bunker, and we'll see exactly how he decides to deal with this. Of course, he probably already saw the front of his opponent's base. He was like, what are you doing exactly? You've got nothing at the front of your base. You've got nothing blocking off that ramp, but it's into burrow.
Yep, and there's a cancellation, too, in that natural, so that already is a scary situation here for the Zerg, staying on one base. It's always very uncomfortable to be in this position. Oh, this Queen gets caught off. Creep, what's it doing? It gets into yellow health, but it stays alive for now. But now we're going to see these Marines just stutter step into this mineral line. And what is True going to be able to do about this?
He's going to be able to lose a lot of drones, and at first he hadn't actually taken any damage in those drone losses, but now climbing up to 10 drones, a couple of Zerglings, and a Queen as well. True is not looking in very good shape, and of course, that worker count for Ryung is skyrocketing in comparison.
Yeah, worker counts are low. Queen is dead, so no injects. Not that he'd have the economy to support them. And another 2 drones just sniped just like that by those Marines, adding insult to injury. We do have some roaches out, though. That's going to be enough to chase out Ryung. So I guess True is going to survive for now. But with what? Not a lot.
Yeah. I mean, does he have an option other than trying to push out across the map and just follow this up with aggression? I'm not sure that he does. It is what he's going to be trying to do, and that's kind of what I would be expecting. Now, the Roaches are continuing on forward. Of course, he wants to chase away those racks and shut down that production in that sense, forcing them to fly away.
Yeah, so there's some potential here. I mean, without Ryung continuing to make units here, what he has as far as his army now is going to be what he's stuck with for a bit. But what can prolong the longevity of these units is this bunker that we see in the back here. And when this wall pops up, that's going to make life tougher for True.
Yep. Now, True is, of course, going to be reestablishing that natural expansion to fall back on if this attack doesn't do too much damage. Oh, a little bit of miscontrol there with the burrow micro from True. Of course, once he can get those roaches burrowed and not taking any more damage, then it's a bit like that Blinkstalker micro, but he just wasn't quite able to pull it off perfectly enough, and he's got so few units that now with 2 bunkers established and additional Marines on the high ground, it's going to be very difficult for True to actually break through this front.
Yeah, one thing he can try to do with this situation is, attack this depot from the outskirts with that one burrowed roach on the high ground. But now he's going to back off. He does have a Ling burrowed there, so that's going to deny the any attempt at an expansion from Ryung for a bit. At least force a scan, so that's one less meal for Ryung. But otherwise, True's just going to have to back off home here and try to pick up the pieces.
Yep. And of course, that follow-up with more and more drones is what we expect to see. He is still technically behind in that drone count. He's not in a comfortable place. But fortunately for Ryung, he's already up to those double orbitals. He's going to clean up the Zergling right there, and then he's going to fly that orbital over and establish his own natural expansion, which is a fair bit later than it would be, in a more standard macro game. But considering the openers, it's kind of equaled out, although we still see the advantage to Ryung just in the supply.
Yeah, but then there's also tech, too, and the guy already has air. So that means he's going to have medevacs shortly. He did go for a Viking first to, start sniping overlords, but once he starts getting some drops in, there's not a lot for True right now to try to defend his various assets if drops start coming into play.
That's true, and That Roach is being so annoying at the natural, or near the natural, of Ryung. Ryung starting to push out forward. He's got himself 4 Hellions, a handful of Marines as well. He's going to be able to pressure a little bit at the natural expansion of True. And we'll have to see if he's able to get any real damage done. There are, of course, Queens right on the front line. They're potentially going to be able to focus down some of these Hellions and Marines. For now, the Queens are the things that are getting focused down, as the DPS is too much for True to deal with. More drones going to be sacrificed here in the name of victory. And can True actually hold this off? It's looking dire.
Yeah, it definitely is. And the rest of these drones, well, now they burrow, so they will be able to survive. But will the rest of these units, though, is the question. Looks like these Lings are trying to clean up the rest, and looks like they will, actually. And Jones can try to get back to work. So, you know what? True held, and gotta hand it to him there. That actually was not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Yeah, that definitely could have gone a lot worse. Now, if we do check that units tab, there is only that 1 Queen, so maybe not the number that True would like to have, but at least he did manage
Pig likes to have.
It is the number that Pig likes to have until, like, the 18-minute mark. Quick reference to the earlier series, which, if you ended up missing it, you can check out the VOD eventually on the Team Gravity YouTube channel, or right here on hitbox.tv/Team Gravity in the video section down below. Now, the Lings poking forward, they're mostly just trying to see, hey, can I maybe get that 1 in a million chance that the Terran player left his wall down? The answer is, of course, no, because Ryung is just too good for that right now. And those Lings going to be forced to pull back.
That is a lot of bunkers.
That is a lot of bunkers. In True.
That's a lot of bunkers. Ryung is worried about some kind of Bane bust all-in or something, or even a Roach bust all-in, because he obviously knows True went Roach, but I just don't see True in an economic position to mount some kind of huge attack right now, unless he pulls the drones too. I mean, but yeah, 4 bunkers filled with 1 unit each. Maybe a little overkill, but we're going to see 2 medevacs now head out towards the right-hand side, and that's going to be a drop that can possibly do a lot of damage.
On the left side of the map, that Viking, which was trying to do his job and just clean up Overlords, is now trying to clean up a hatchery, and he's doing his darndest, but I don't know that True will actually let that happen. Now, on the back end of this, you did mention the fact that True, or Ryung, was maybe expecting True to go for some sort of bust, but the double Evo chambers and a lot of drones were the choice for True. And now, here's the push-in from Ryung. He's going to get the snipe on 1 drone, but that's not the win he wants. The spawning pool and the Roach Warren may be better targets for him, as it looks like the Viking gets pushed away from that 3rd base. Oh, there goes the spawning pool. The Queens are here for the defense, but they're not quite in good enough numbers to deal with 2 medevacs full of stimmed bio.
Oh, going for that spawning pool absolutely was the better choice. Man or mule there, just a show of strength again by Ryung. And you know why that spawning pool was the best choice? No lair.
Why?
There's no lair, and not to mention he's probably not going to survive long enough to even take advantage of a lair anyways had he had one. But yeah, this drop has been killer. Drones trying to get a full surround. There's a dance over there by Ryung. And that's the GG from True. So we are now back to 2-2 between these 2 players.
That is indeed true, as we do have Ryung taking a cheesy but well-fought game off of True. And we do, of course, have the map choice going to True. Now, before we get too carried away with our, post-game thoughts and getting ready for the next match, a shout-out to the new subs, Donut Jiggy and Boomerang, as well as Mink Leet, or Mink1337, depending on how he wants that pronounced. But we got the Leet boys showing up today. And, of course, a lot of Leet boys tonight. I don't know what the deal is. But you guys can, of course, subscribe on hitbox.tv. As we mentioned, G2A is running that promotion right now, that you get that full kind of feedback. But, Droopy, what are your thoughts on that last game? I mean, yeah, we saw the 2-player maps be favored by Ryung. But what else?
That last game in particular?
Yeah.
Proxy 2-Rex, man. That's all it was. I mean, I would say that True was completely caught off guard by it. He lost so much, canceled his hatchery. When you cancel your hatch, you're already you're halfway dead, because you're gonna suffer a contain of sorts, at least for a certain amount of time from the Terran. You're very limited in your production. So to cancel that hatch, to be forced into that situation already sucks. And then on top of that, you lose so many drones. It's just that simple. It really is. So yeah,
Now,
that's
to roll out of that thought, what did, of course, Dead Pixels True do after losing that first game to the Proxy Reapers? He went to the 4-player map, but now all of the 4-player maps have already been played on. So is the next kind of part of the thought process just going to Catalina because it's 3-player map? Maybe?
Well, maybe. But here's the thing, too, right? If you expect your opponent to cheese when given the opportunity, you can metagame that, you know? It's not like, oh, my God, I have to avoid his cheese at all costs. Like, there are ways to answer it. So, you know, let's just see if True can figure things out here. We are heading into Game 5, so it's plenty enough experience now that these guys should be able to alter and adjust their play styles as we head into the later stage of the series.
Yep. And I don't know how much these guys, if they, chatted beforehand and they were like, hey, let's just show some fun games. Let's have fun with the in-game chat. Or if they were, like, oh, I'm totally going to wreck you beforehand, and this really means so much to me. But these guys, they've clearly just been having a lot of fun. They've been enjoying themselves. And, of course, you saw the Manor Mules. You saw the dancing in that last game. You potentially even saw the in-game chat between these two guys. So it's pretty clear that they are on friendly terms, or they're just, like, the most passive-aggressive enemies we've ever seen.
Well, I'll say that Ryung's been more passive-aggressive. I haven't seen True dance anything just yet, so I'm looking forward to some kind of revenge on his part there.
Yeah. Now, of course, True, or Ryung has asked for a quick break, but True does have that map choice because we do vetoes for the first map, and then we go straight into loser's pick. That's how the Fight Nights do run, which is, some tournaments like to run, one player vetoes, then another player vetoes, and then you have a map pool choice, or you select all of your maps at the start, and then you kind of play them out regardless of who wins and who loses. And that can kind of sometimes cause players a little bit of trouble if they, lose a game and then now they're playing potentially on their opponent's map pick. So maybe that works against them, but in this case, they get to choose their maps. Now, we have already used up 4 maps, which, of course, we only have the 3 that the players have been avoiding. And that could kind of be working into their mentality if one of them gains a bit of an advantage. But they're completely deadlocked in the score. If you've missed the first part of this series, we are indeed 2-2, Axiom Ryung versus Dead Pixels True. And we're going to be heading into the next game soon enough.
Yeah, so just a reminder, guys, if you've missed any of the previous fight nights, we've had some great players. I'm just going to list them all out for you right here, right now. Hydra, Fantasy, Masa, Violet. Who else did we have? Help me out. Supernova Patience, and then there's one more series I forgot.
Gumiho Fantasy, as far as main events go. And then earlier today, we did indeed have Koss versus Minigun, a series that turned out maybe a little bit unexpectedly. The series that was just balls to the wall, crazy and fun. Puck versus Pig. Those were both from tonight. 2 best of 5s for you guys to check out. But last week, Droopy and I also casted the Team Gravity Fight Night. We had Jon Snow versus Intense from Psystorm Gaming and Flipside Tactics Jon Snow. I think it's Flipside Tactics Jon Snow. Now I'm a little bit unsure.
Yes. It is.
But then we had Gosu User versus Peely Peely, and those 2 series in themselves were just so great in the way that they turned out and just the things that the players did and how the games and matches went overall. And then to round out last week, we had Violet versus Masa. So tons of fantastic matches if you guys have missed them. And of course, it's all brought to you by Hitbox.tv. They are fronting the money for the prize pool. And of course, Team Gravity, the management, the guys behind the scenes working hard to make it all happen. They're the ones arranging the matches, getting the production up and running. And, of course, the live stream production that's done right now is not by me. It's not by Droopy. We are not this talented. But it is indeed done by the lovely @CurranTV on Twitter, who is here, but you guys can't hear him. And he gets to tell us jokes that you guys don't get to hear. So be jealous.
All right, so... guys, please support us, by the way, if you're enjoying this stream. We're definitely happy to be putting on this for the community. If you're enjoying it, please follow us here at hitbox.tv. And if you have the means for it, please subscribe as well. What we get from this goes straight back into us trying to improve our production even further and get you guys even more entertainment and talent to show on these fight nights. So very much appreciated.
Yeah. And I think that covers all of the standard things that we wanted to go over during the in-game break. So now we really are up against the wall in terms of filling time.
Well, I guess this is a time for me to bring up the fact that I was totally right about that proxy robo.
You're still going on about that?
Hey, I'm going to tweet that later on too. That's my biggest victory as a caster.
Just like go back to the replay, take a picture of the proxy robo, like just as it goes down. Like, I knew it. I called it.
I did call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, should we take a break too?
I mean,
yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I think we all can use a little breather here. So, sit tight, guys.
Ryung said 3 minutes, 6 minutes ago, so it's one of those things.
All right then. Let's do it. Sit tight, guys. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are just about ready to create the lobby for game number 5. Everything is all teed up right now, so it can really go either way between these two talented players. I can't wait to see how this is going to finish out.
Yep, we've seen some cheesy games. We've seen Dead Pixels True also smash Ryung with some nice macro-oriented gameplay. So, we've seen a small gamut of play. Will we see a larger one where there's still lots of, well, maybe not lots of games, but there's still 3 games potentially to come about. We, of course, are guaranteed 2 more if it's a, 2-0, I guess you could think of it that way. But we're guaranteed those 2 more games. Hopefully, we will go the full gamut and see all 7. But so far, we've seen kind of a repeat in that we saw Ryung cheese kind of 2 games in a row, and then the games that he didn't cheese, True kind of manhandled him a bit. But what will happen in the next game on Expedition Lost? anything can happen. It's up in the air.
All right. Okay, good. He did race up. I was like, we're not going anywhere with you as Terran, Drew.
That's always
But,
awkward.
Yes. Too many games have started where the one person just leaves immediately. It's like, oh, I was on Terran. Sorry. And it's Terran,
Yeah.
too, always. It's always
Always.
Terran. That's the wrong race.
Yep, because it defaults to Terran in
Exactly.
the custom games, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is our first, actually, like, TVZ on Expedition Lost, because we did see it Puck versus Pig, but we didn't really see a quote-unquote normal game on that, in that particular one.
Yes, none
That
of
was
those
a weird
games
one.
count for anything
Yeah.
at all. Anyways, we are now on to game number 5, folks. It is 2 top-flight Korean players going at it. They are all tied up at 2-2. This is another one of those pivotal matches because, well, whoever wins this is heading right into a match point that they can use to close out the series for a cool $60 prize for the first place and leaving only 20 for the loser. So, we do have the blue Zerg on the upper right-hand side representing D-Pix, also known as Dead Pixels. It is going to be the player known as True.
And in the southwestern corner, the red Terran player from Team Axiom, evening things up to 2, it is Ryung. I feel like I'm missing some sort of secret code with this in-game chat.
That's some Morse code stuff coming out of these guys.
I think they're just saying O. It's just a lot of dashes, you know?
You know, what's happening is Ryung keeps making his dashes longer and True keeps making his shorter. Have you noticed that? You see that?
Yeah. Are they just going to keep going until one of them makes like a critical micro mistake and just, you know, eats a bunch of banelings or something?
Not True is this is getting kind of awkward
I don't
here.
understand at all.
This is getting
But at any
kinda
rate,
awkward.
we do have, I believe it was like a 14 pool, maybe a 15 pool from Dead Pixels True, but of course he's following it up with the gas before the expansion. So not quite that same macro play that we saw from Dead Pixels True. Maybe he's been burned one too many times
Yes.
by Axiom Ryung, and so he's learned his lesson. He's like, all right, pool first. I learned my lesson.
Oh wow, we see an English lesson going down here. I think True said "calm down," and then Ryung corrected him, say it's "calm down, dude." That's how the English speakers say it. Oh, okay. She called him
Well,
a chopo. That's
These
great.
two guys, they are going for pure entertainment value in these particular
Yes.
games.
Yes. So there's an expansion on the low ground here for Ryung. Now, given that True has gone for an early pull, if he starts cranking out some lings here, that could be a prime target for attack.
Yeah.
But let's see if he researches speed first before we jump to that conclusion. He is now, albeit a bit late. He's behind a bit here, behind the 8-ball a bit here, because he pulled his drones off at 112 mind. You're supposed to pull them off at 100, so True.
Oh, man.
Focusing too much on his English lesson.
Yeah, exactly. You know, how much of this early game can be attributed to the English lesson that happened in chat and all of the fun with hyphens, and how much of it is actually just going to be the players playing their absolute best. But as you mentioned, we do have that speed on the way, and of course the bunker, because Axiom Ryung, he's like, I went CC on the low ground, you're Zerg, this is a 2-base map, you're gonna know that because you've got overlords. But Ryung did, of course, kill one, and that's always the first overlord killed. When it's that early on, you're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I lost that overlord? Really?
Yep. True just got schooled there, just like he did in the English class just earlier. And, well, he is going to come with a Roach Warrant right now. So it's going to be perhaps a very early Roach and Speedling all in. So that's going to be interesting to see from True here after, well, being the one who was cheesed in the 2 losses that he had. He's going to exact a little bit of revenge here. That's kind of the idea for him, I think.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, Ryung, taking a 3rd CC here, might just be playing into the hands of True.
Very likely indeed. Now, despite that kind of earlier pool for True and the CC on the low ground. We did indeed see 0 Lings be produced. Of course, it's just going to be the Roaches for now, and the Queen on the front lines. But those Roaches, are they immediately going to be sent out for the assault? It looks like the answer is yes. He's got them pushing out across the map.
Well, with only 1 gas being mined, he's going to eventually be gas blocked. So with those remaining minerals, let's see if he is going to go all in by making them into speedlings. Yep, that's what they are. The other option was he could drone off of that and kind of make this like a hybrid of like a nice timing push and, you know, to have some economy up. But looks like it's going to be an all-in.
Yep. And he is, of course, going to be rallying those Roaches, as you can see over to the left side, because of the back rocks in this map. Now, Ryung knows about this more than once. He's got the Marine positioned for that vision. He's got the Hellions doing that extra bit of damage. And now we've got more Lings going to be getting pushed out. Another round of Zerglings is being finished up here. And at the top of the ramp, we've got that bunker. And, of course, this is why some players don't like this map, is because you've got those 2 entrances you have to defend.
Oh, yep. And you know what? This might be the reason why True chose it. He's taking advantage of it right now. SCV's being pulled to serve as meat shields. Is that going to be enough here? Ling's trying to move past them to get to the Marines in the back. Yeah, there's a little bit of lag there. But, nonetheless... Oh, Widowmine gets a good shot off on those Roaches there.
Oh, the SCV numbers going down. 20 SCVs being cleaned up. 21 and 16 workers to 24 does not make Ryung a happy boy, but he does have the 2 Marauders. He's kiting away from the Roaches as best he can, and he's trying to clean up what he can, but another couple of SCVs going down. And I mean, Triple Mule is good, but is it good enough to deal with all of this?
Never, ever underestimate the power of Mule. Seriously.
I don't know, man. This is a lot of Lings.
Well, yeah. I mean, mules can't fight for you. But you know what? If Ryung can manage to hold here, it's not over. But of course, that's a big if. But with these 2 Hellions in the back, I think he's going to be able to clean up those Lings, and then he can kind of get back to work. So, let's take a look at that income skyrocket now.
Yeah, the income tab is not going to be favoring our Terran player for at least a little while. Dead Pixels True does still have that advantage, but, you know, we did... Oh, actually, the other thing that would help is if these 5 SCVs got back to work. That might help equalize things a little bit. But, like you talked about, don't underestimate the Mule. And despite the fact that it's 16 workers to 42, the income tab has actually equaled up and slightly in favor of Ryung for the minerals. But that army supply is also heavily in favor of Ryung. And Dead Pixels True, he went for that big Roachling attack and then followed it up with a lot of drones, some upgrades, and lair.
Oh boy, and you know what? You pointed out a good thing, because I'm looking at this now. The army value is, in fact, in advantage of Ryung. And now, the guy is actually pushing. So look at that. True running from his natural right now.
And a couple of these queens going to be getting caught off. Now, the drones didn't all go down, but 10 of them have been eliminated. There's the stim forward as these Marines are heading forward, and there's even a Widowmine packed along with this army. This queen is going to be getting focused as more Hellions follow up as the reinforcements, and this 3rd hatch may be on the way, but can he stop the Terran aggression that's in his main?
Oh, this is going to be real rough. Now, the drones are being pulled here. We saw SCVs pulled earlier. Now, True has to do the same thing himself. But look, the numbers of Roaches are down to none. And there are Marauders still sitting here with Stim. Manor Mule being dropped. You tried to all-in me, man. I'm going to school you not just in English, but in this game, too. GG from True.
Yeah. And Axiom Ryung takes another map. And that was indeed Dead Pixels True map choice. Now, we are going to be restarting our webcams because, of course, we've got that Skype limit on the call. We hit our 4-hour mark, so we've graduated this cast into the awkward phase of restarting those webcams.
That's such a great way of putting it. All right.
You gotta be streaming for a long time to be able to wear that award. You got that badge.
I didn't even know that there was a 4-hour limit.
That is, that's disappointing. Droopy.
It's,
I'm
that's not even a
disappointed.
big. That's not even a big deal. Why did they even have this limit? You have to
I think it's
re-click.
just to sell Skype Premium because it doesn't have the 4-hour limit.
Yeah, I don't.
But the next map number 6, potentially our final game of this series, which would make me very sad, is if Ryung just cleaned this out. Not that I don't want Ryung to win, I just don't want him to win before match number 7. Or map number 7, as I should say. But Catalina is going to be the next map, the 3-player option for True. Now, in the last game, I've been talking a bit mostly, about Ryung's cheesiness. And in the last game, True learned from that. He adapted to it, but he wasn't able to make it work, and that Terran macro was just too much.
Yeah, I mean, never underestimate the power of mules, man. He was making it rain after that, and then just able to crank out more Marines and sprinkle in some Marauders, as well as, of course, the Hellions. And, well, that kind of left True just holding the bag there. So Ryung now in a prime spot to win $60. And I just want to give a shout out to Stan7081 for subscribing to the Team Gravity Hitbox channel. Thank you very much.
And a shout out to all of the subscribers. If you would like to earn yourself that G2A gift card, which is $5 value, you can do that by subscribing to Team Gravity.
All right. Game 6 is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be on Catalina LE. It is a choice, once again, of the Zerg player that has dropped 2 in a row now, and he is finding himself in a 2-3 deficit. So, can he hold strong here and try to make it to an ace match for all the marbles? Well, that is going to be something to see. We do have the Red Terran, who is just teaching us all kinds of lessons today, whether it's how to speak proper English, whether it is how to hold a roachling all in. He's done it. He's going to look to close things out here. He's at the very top of the series, as well as this map. It is the Red Terran representing Axiom Gaming, or Axiom Esports. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryung.
And in the southern position, that 5 o'clock spawn. On Catalina, the blue Zerg player, he needs your cheers. Dead Pixels, True.
Well, certainly judging by this chat, Ryung thinks he's got it. He's calling his opponent sleep-worthy with the snores going down. True is like, you're gonna die. And, well, we see a 14 pull once more from True. Let's see if he chooses to get aggressive with that again.
Yep. I mean, it didn't work out for him last game, but things are different this time. Maybe Ryung won't see it coming in this particular match, because, of course, in that last one, Ryung had the Marine there watching those rocks. He had the Hellions scouting the roaches making their way across the map. He knew it was coming. He had time to start the bunker, and, I mean, maybe even without the bunker, he would have potentially been able to hold, but he had the knowledge that it was coming. It may be different this game, but he's opening up with that Reaper once again. Now, we haven't actually seen too much crazy aggro Reapers other than the Proxy Reaper game from Ryung, so potentially he's just going to keep this at home, go for the no scout, and then blind bunker. I know a lot of Terrans do like to do that. They open a little bit more greedy that way, but we'll see exactly what Ryung wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple games where Ryung makes that first Reaper, and then he just has it patrolling, like, on some ramp close to his base, and then he just leaves it at that. But he's actually going to go ahead and do a little bit of scouting with this Reaper, and so he is going to just hop right into that first base, and, well, lo and behold, there's Creep.
Yep. So both players did scout their opponents first. Now, Ryung technically didn't see all that much, in that he didn't actually see the spawning pool, but he's probably good enough to, you know, take another look, figure out exactly what is going on. We do have speed on the way for our Zerg player, so things are looking pretty similar to the last game. And Ryung is going to see that hatchery just now finishing up just before 4:30, and he's going to have an excellent idea of what the build was for our Zerg.
Okay, so Ryung, he goes in, he scouts that gas, he clicks on it. That's exactly textbook scouting for Terran right here against Zerg. Because you need to know if your opponent's mining gas and how much of it he's mined. Well, it's been almost 200, so speed is likely something that's being researched. And if there's more than 100, there's got to be some other kind of tech coming. But then again, you look at True and, well, what is that tech? I don't know yet.
It's more drones, which are, surprisingly gas light. But in this case, Ryung is going to be coming in here. He's taking a couple of shots there, trying to do some damage. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to pick up any drones. And then potentially, just like we saw him do on the Vanny Research game, he's just going to back right off with these Reapers. Although, nope, he's going to pop into the main base, cleans up a creep tumor, and might just skate on out of there because he's got that clock on him. Speed is already done. He needs to get on out of there.
Yeah, Catalina is a much more annoying map than some of the other ones we've seen as far as Reapers go, just because of this ledge out here in front of the main base. And that's kind of a place where you can just hop down and then go back up the natural and then back over and over again. So, yes, that is a much better option for Terrans as far as the Reapers are concerned. And here goes the tech for True. He's going to go for Lair right now as well as a Baneling Nest. So this is an interesting development here as he's still on 2 base. He is droning on top of this too, but he's going pretty heavy on the tech here to start.
Now, Ryung just now finishing up that 3rd CC, turning it into an orbital. In the last game, we saw him drop so many mules, not just the Manor ones, but the regular ones that were actually mining, as Ryung does love his Manor mules, at least versus True. So we're going to be seeing him go for that same sort of quick 3 CC. And ooh, you were asking where exactly is all that gas going to be going? Well, it's not just the Banelings, it's also the Spire.
Oh, wow. That's just such an expensive thing to do here at this early point in the game. I'm really curious to see exactly what proportions of each kind of unit he's going to try to go for. True, that is. There's just not enough gas to necessarily go around to support all this. But we'll see. We might have Ling's Bane bust and then like a 4 Muta flyby, like we saw earlier.
Which, yeah. The 4 Muta flyby, notoriously bad at dealing with double Thor at the same time. So take notes, kids. If your opponent is going mech, don't try to flyby with 4 Mutas way late. But we'll see, again, Dead Pixel's True. We saw him learning from some of his previous games. He is, of course, a world-class player. I mean, we're complete scrubs compared to him, so who are we to tell him how to play? But in this particular case, I mean, it's a given. But in this particular case, is he going to be making those same mistakes that led to his loss in some of the other games? Hopefully not.
Yes, and right now this supply depot wall just about finishing up here for Ryung as he attempts to drop over there at the name. Quickly denied there by True. And now he's got 5 mutas on the way 6, so that's a better number than what we've seen. So that's cool. Yeah. And 3rd base just about finishing up here for Ryung, or for True as well.
Yeah, it's not quite as far ahead of the 3rd base of Ryung as True would probably like. And there's a little smiley face, as I'm not sure if Ryung ended up killing off a unit or if True killed off one of Ryung's unit, but something caused that emoticon. However, we do have the double engineering base going down for Ryung. He's got that +1 infantry upgrades coming out.
And the mutas are now heading into that main base. Let's see. Well, there are 3 turrets going up right now. They're going to go after these Widow Mines first. Oh, cannot quite finish off that second one as it burrows in time. But there are plenty of things to attack here in the main base. Missile turret will finish up. So the mineral line is safe for now, but there is plenty of opportunity out here in the center.
Yeah, now we do have those 4 SCVs going down, but it's 8 drones on the production tab for True. He's climbing up towards that 3-base 60 drone count that lots of Zerg players like to hang around. Now, True needs to be careful. He has the potential to lose even more of these mutas. I don't think he's lost any just yet. He's been controlling very nicely, but some of them are quite low on HP. And yeah, he's cleaned up some SCVs, but we just saw Ryung dropping the mules right in front of the mutas. He's like, yeah, you killed SCVs, but I got mules, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yes, that's pretty much that was the theme of the previous game too, I might add.
That's true, yeah.
More mutas now joining the fray here. Another 4 added on to the 8 that we're seeing. And, that's just kind of the way it needs to go, right? You do muta flybys, but make sure you stay judicious with them. You don't just lose them to stupid reasons. And then you just sort of slowly add to your muta count to the point where it starts to become fearsome when you head into the mid-late game.
Yeah, and of course, keeping those mutas alive versus the Terran as they start to get those upgrades is, yeah, very, very important, as you were talking about there. Now, Baneling speed is on the way, which of course Ling Bane Muta has been a composition that we've seen Zerg players favor for years and years and years, it seems, pretty much since the beginning of StarCraft 2. But this Reaper is going to be spotted in this one Ling over on the right side. And Ryung, he's fortifying this third base. He's got his Widow Mines there playing defense, and Hellions transforming into Hellbats.
And we're seeing both armies pass each other right through the center of the map. And Ryung, just realizing that True is making his way past his army, is now turning around to go and try to defend his base. Ling's staying on the outside for now. Actually going to try to run away for a bit here, avoid the Hellbats. The Mutas, though, in the natural, are finding plenty of targets for themselves.
Wow. They actually only killed 3 of those SCVs, surprisingly. They're going to get themselves a couple of Marines. They almost got themselves a Marauder as well. But a couple more SCVs in the main base are going to be nice targets here for True. He's actually able to pick off 10, 11, 12, 13 SCVs. How many mutas has he actually lost? A total of 6. It could be better, but cleaning up 20 SCVs, not bad.
Yeah, that's plenty of workers killed. Right now, Ryung is behind by 13 SCVs compared to his opponent. Of course, meals will make up that difference, as you can see in the income tab right now. But still, you know, kills are great when you do muta flybys, and they're picking off a couple more medevacs too.
Yeah. Now, Ryung, he doesn't have a whole lot of medevacs to be giving away. He does have 5 remaining out on the map, but that's not necessarily the number that he would like to have. It's still a healthy-ish number, but picking off those 2 is certainly nice. Now, more SCVs going down, 9 and 10, bringing our total SCVs killed up to 35, as these mutas are so value.
Oh, man, this is definitely a good deal here for True. 35 workers killed right now, and now Ryung is starting to fall behind a bit here in the income. 41 to 66 workers compared to True, and the mills are not quite making up the difference anymore.
Now, Ryung has left a contingency of Marines back at home. He's trying desperately to deal with these mutas, but another medevac gets claimed by the mutas, and they're going to make their way just winging across the map, safe from any real harm.
Okay, looks like Ryung is now trying to convert his units onto the Octopus and wants to make a push. This is going to be a Hellbat Marine Widow Mine composition. Of course, the trick here is for True not to get stuck in the Widow Mine crosshairs. It looks like he's not going to even attempt to attack the army of Ryung. He's going to actually go straight for the base.
Yeah, he's going for the safe option. He cleans up that entire group of Marines, but it doesn't stop Ryung from pushing out across the map. Now we've got Lings at the natural of Ryung starting to break down those supply depots, while at the main/third location of Dead Pixels True, Ryung is pushing forward, claims himself a queen. He's got a spread of Widow Mines, but a lot of them have already used their shots. Banelings rolling in. Ryung splitting slightly better than he did in the previous games. Marauders and Hellbats absorbing so many of those shots. There's a handful of Marines that remain, but the Zerglings are flooding in. Goodbye, third base. The 4th is established, and that's where the drones will be heading. All of the Marines get annihilated, and it looks like Dead Pixels True has actually pushed back Ryung, taking it 3-3 to the ace match.
And that's exactly what True was waiting for, man, to get into a nice long macro game, kind of show his power here, and we see it now that he is capable of taking it to an ace match for all the marbles.
Indeed. How many marbles can you actually buy for $60, I think, is the question.
Well, from what I've heard, everything in Korea is expensive, so not as many as you'd think.
That's all I can say. I don't actually know what the exchange rate is either. They might actually kind of be getting screwed by the exchange rate.
I think the cost of living, too, is just really high there, which kind of sucks, but yeah.
But if you ordered them from Amazon, you could get 5 packs of 200 marbles. That's 1,000 marbles. That's a lot of marbles.
That is a lot of marbles for sure.
That is a lot of marbles.
You know, I've seen people just like have these jars at home and they just put marbles in them. I never understand what those are for.
I feel like my mother has a jar of marbles. I actually have no idea why they even, like, it's obviously some sort of like visual piece, but it's like, why was the decision, you know what my home needs is a jar of marbles. Like, versus all the options that you have, you're like, no, jar of marbles, that's it.
I don't know. Find out for me, will you?
I'm going to call my mom right now. Why do you have a jar of marbles? But one of these players can buy themselves a jar of marble and decorate their house. Perhaps it's the Axiom team house that they're going to be decorating with said marbles, or either one of these players, whoever wins this final 7th game, is going to be the player who can, you know, do the proverbial manor muling in real life. They can brag that they beat the other guy in this series because they're obviously quite friendly.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, this is it, guys. This is going to be the last game of Team Gravity's Fight Night this week. It is an ace match between 2 top Korean players. What a way to end things, man. What a way to go out.
What a way indeed. But our final map is Secret Spring. Take it away, Droopy.
Alrighty then. We do have this red Terran player. He is spawning on the right-hand side of the Secret Spring, which is a weird map we did talk about earlier, especially with the funky walls and rocks that you can break in the center and potentially splitting the whole map in half. That's definitely unique. I'll give him that. But yes, there is the red Terran player representing Axiom Esports. And now, well, having one more chance to claim that prize for himself and make those manor mules worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryung.
And on the left side, the pink Zerg player who has shown us some fantastic macro throughout today. Can he close things out and rub it in Ryung's face? It is Dead Pixels True.
And man, if he does, he better dance something. He has
better.
not danced at all this game, anything. That's disappointing to me.
Which I do want to give one quick shout out here while we're actually in game to whoever at Axiom, which I assume it's Oli Moly, it's Olivia, that put up those player photos on their website, because it's so hard when you're doing graphics for an event to find good player photos. And for the intros, I was actually able to use Ryung's player photo right from the website. So shout out to them for providing quality assets for people to use. But a shout out to Hitbox TV for sponsoring this event. $100 is the total prize pool, $10 to each prelim, $60 to the winner of this particular series, and $20 to the loser, but also to the guys behind the scenes at Team Gravity who make this stuff happen, who organize it every single week. And of course, the final thank you and big cheers to Current TV, our wonderful observer, and the man doing production. He is excellent and awesome.
Silent
You guys
hero.
should follow him on Twitter at Current TV.
Silent hero of the series, no doubt.
Yep.
And
Indeed. This chat, man, all game long, all series long. Ha ha ha, he he he. These guys are silly.
They certainly are a silly bunch of players. Last game we had Morse code. Or was that the game before? That was the game before. There was a Morse code English lesson going on.
Expedition Lost. Yep.
Yes. And now there's a lot of laughing going on here. Hey, that's cool. That's cool with me.
Exactly. These two guys are very happy fellows. Now, Secret Spring is a map that has all sorts of shenanigans on it because of the way that it's got 3 ground attack paths, but by default 2 of them are locked off. I know one of the guys who plays StarCraft 2 a fair bit was actually, he like proxy raxed a Protoss on the high ground of the natural expansion and then dropped a bunker. And then, of course, Puck versus Pig, we saw Puck drop the proxy robo at the gold base of his opponent. Just all sorts of weird things that players can do on this map. Like the middle can be blocked by, I believe, at one point, a bunker and an SCV if you put them in the right spot. It's something just silly. So there's all sorts of weird things about this map, and what a great way to finish off this series.
Yep, and you know, the funny thing is, of all the times you could see Ryung proxying Rax here, he doesn't do it on this map.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is the ace match, so, you know, this is not the time to be messing around. This is serious business now, because it's $60 versus $20. So
I would much rather if someone was like, hey, you're going to play a video game, do you want $60 or $20? I'd be like, yeah, I'll take the 60. I mean, of course. So, yes. regardless of, how serious these guys are taking it, how many other bigger events that they necessarily play in, there's always that thought of like, man, I could have been $40 richer if I would have just played a little bit differently, if I would have played a little bit better. But we got lots of drones on the way for True. We've got a bit more of a bio focus in this particular game as opposed to some of the mech games from Ryung.
Yeah, there was one game, of course, where he went the Thor and the Hellbats, right? And then in game one, he was considering going, factory based, but then he didn't exactly have the opportunity to. But
yeah,
other than that, he's been going back with bio. Last game was a huge bio game, and True had the Ling's main unit perfectly to counteract that. So this time around, looks like it might play out the very same way here. We got the Baneling Nest out for True right now, and he's getting his lair as well. So a lot of things are ending up pretty similarly here in this game.
Yep, these guys going with the more standard, quote-unquote, safe sort of stuff. Now, of course, with that in-base expansion, they're both on that 2-base relatively quickly. We don't quite see the 3rd base coming up just yet for our Zerg player. He is, of course, going layer before that, adding on a couple of more drones as well. And Ryung, I mean, we've seen him patrolling pretty much all game long. He left the game relatively early with that first Reaper. He headed out to the opposite side of the map. He was just doing a little bit of patrolling, not a lot, but he's just doing a little bit of patrolling, trying to keep eyes basically everywhere on the map.
Yeah, and he's going to take out these rocks here on the bottom. Venturing through the center, of course, is something he can easily do, but there are these overlords here that are keeping an eye on everything. So, in order to just have a little bit of discretion and, do this in secret, he's going to try to go through the bottom. They call this secret spring, but that doesn't necessarily mean everything's a secret, right? So...
Nope, and it also doesn't mean you have to travel amongst the stream in the middle of the map, or the spring in the middle of the map, but it's kind of interesting. Ryung has gone exactly 0 starports in this particular map, and we do have that Spire on the way, so potentially this could turn bad for Ryung. We'll have to see, but he's got lots of Hellions to roast those drones.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there. 9 minutes, no starport, so Ryung is going for pretty much a nice big fat attack right here of just ground units, no medevacs, and there's not a huge transition coming out of this either. No 3rd from Ryung just yet. And True is saying he can come. All right. Here we go.
Now, we've got at the front, we've got those Marauders tanking, of course, any potential Baneling shots. Nice split there, or pre-split, I should say, by Ryung. He's, of course, trying to use the Hellions to get some fantastic shots off going up the ramp. There's the Transfuse on the Spine Crawler, keeping it alive. But in come more Marines as the reinforcements. Banelings on top, trying to get in a good position, but they can't find a good angle. And Ryung pushes into the natural of True.
Oh, this micro is going to be so tricky here. Banelings are converging on all of these units here. The Hellions are running fast, but what about the bio units on creep? Not able to evade as easily, but there are some more Marines arriving as reinforcements. And now True is scrambling to get out some more units here to try to hold off this attack.
Yeah, now fortunately for True, he hasn't actually lost any drones as of yet, but 45 Zerglings. That's a lot of larvae that he spent on Zerglings and not drones. And of course, he does have that 3rd base, but no drones added. It's just for the larvae, it's just for the production right now. Ryung continuing to pressure out more Marines, more Marauders heading out across the map, but the attack has waned.
Yes, it looks like Ryung is backing off a little bit here. He wants to do some creep control instead now. Maybe look for that 3rd base. I do not think True's in a position to easily defend that at this point in time. So if Ryung can get this kill, it will certainly be mission accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the actual units tab, it's 16 Marines, 3 Marauders, 6 Hellions, versus 22 Lings. So not a whole lot of beefy units here for True, but he's adding on those Banelings. If he can get fantastic hits or even pretty good hits with these Banelings, it might be enough to completely seal Ryung out of this attack.
All right, Banelings are converging, and, well, they are getting the hits they need. Looks like a lot of these Marines have been cleaned up, just a bunch of them left. And Ryung, oh my gosh, facing the dance! The call has been answered. True has some moves to show off as well.
Oh, yeah, these two guys, they are so friendly. I do believe Team Grav in the chat was saying that they are in the same team house, and I believe that I've heard that but elsewhere as well. So, yeah, these guys, they may be sitting next to each other. They may be punching each other, although they're probably not. That would be pretty funny, though. They are indeed good buddies, good pals. So do not be, you know, do not be taken by all of the seeming BM that is going on, all of the seeming dancing. It is indeed all in good fun, and that is a lot of SCVs. In fact, 8 that just loaded up into that medevac.
That's a lot of gas right now. I see banked up for the Zerg. So, well, there are speed banelings right now. I think still the gas is going to be sunk into banelings for now, but I was thinking potentially when the mutas are going to come into play, that could be a lot for True to work with. But until then, he still needs to work on making those tier 1 units here because he's still facing this all-incoming from Ryung. Ryung has not transitioned at all. There's no third, definitely no starport.
CVs on the low ground, and he's actually cleaning up those banelings quite nicely. And you mentioned that Spire earlier on, but there have been 0 mutas produced in this game because of this pressure Ryung is putting on. Now the banelings now coming in, they're starting to get those hits, but there's the hot pickup in that medevac, and that red zone is indeed, that landing zone is indeed hot. But Hellions on the low ground, are they going to be able to actually get the shots off? The SCVs also on the low ground, repairing those medevacs back up to full HP. Banelings come in rolling on top of this army, but they can't touch the Marines.
Oh my gosh, those Marines were microed exceedingly well by Ryung, and that's why they are still up here alive with some Marauders in the front to take additional bailing hits. And now Ryung is going to venture deeper into here with some SCVs serving as a meat shield too. This attack is far from being over.
Yeah, somehow Ryung is continuing to put on the pressure. He's streaming more and more units out across the map. The reinforcements aren't exactly huge swells of units, but they're just that trickle of reinforcements that he needs to keep this attack alive. Now more banelings rolling in. The Marine split's maybe not as good this time, and the Marauders aren't necessarily there to tank as many shots as Ryung would have liked. But the medevacs are still alive. They're keeping somehow, some way, this entire army alive for way longer than it should actually be here.
Oh my gosh, this is crunch time right now for True. The thing is, he does have a superior economy. What he doesn't have is a queen to inject that lair, which is why his reinforcements are coming out so much slower than you'd expect. And how long Ryung has been in this base is pretty remarkable. He's still sending in more reinforcements. These will end up being cleaned up by the Lings on the ground, though. But then again, he is actually just lifting these units into the main base. They didn't actually get cleaned up. They were just picked up. And, let's see if Ryung still hangs around here. Still has not transitioned to third base.
Yeah,
and he's actually lost a lot of SCVs in bringing them over.
I mean, it was a cutesy move, but that 2 base... Oh, no, never mind. He's pulling the boys. He is rallying what forces he has, and he is going to go for one last hurrah, the Hail Mary, as 5 mutas are on the production tab. This third base will likely never be used in this game for anything more than that production. But here is the big last push from Ryung, and this, one way or the other, this is most likely going to end the game.
I gotta tell you, this is $40 worth of SCVs right here.
That's true. That's true.
$40. I don't know who the $40 is gonna go to, but this is gonna be it, guys. We're looking at the Hail Mary, as Cybert put it.
All right, the Banelings coming in. They're trying to find their mark. They find it with the SCVs and a couple of Marines, but the reinforcement train is here, and some of those units were just on the low ground. Now, the mutas are in reasonable numbers, and the Marines are, of course, forced to run back and back away from the Banelings, but the SCVs are here for the repair, which means even the mutas won't be doing too well versus the medevacs.
Oh my, and there's still a group of Banelings. Those are so crucial here if they can get the hits they need. Mutas as well, but look, if those Banelings do not get the connections they need, it's going to be Muta versus combat shielded Marines. We all know who usually wins that battle, so it comes down to the splitting, comes down to where we are going to see True position those Banelings when he chooses to converge finally on this last group of units from Ryung. It's going to be $40 worth of micro, guys.
Yep, Ryung continuing to power more and more Marines across the map, but the attack has let off the gas once again. And somehow, both of these guys are still in this game. Over 200 Zerglings have gone down, but still 0 drones lost. Just Queens and, of course, those SCVs that Ryung has been bringing over to this side of the map.
It's pretty remarkable, too. I mean, you look at True, who's just popped in and taken out a couple units there with those mutas. He's been leading by more than twice the workers' supply of what Ryung has, but mules have kept Ryung competitive in the economy. Look, he's actually even on the mineral mining, which is why he's still keeping up with this attack.
Yeah, and of course, at this point, he's just pumping out those Marines. As you bring up the income tab, there's not a lot of gas income going on for Ryung, but he is in a do-or-die situation. He does have his Marines pre-split. He is sniping the Spire. Nice kill there. But here come the Mutas. Are they going to be able to get any real shots off? Well, the engages aren't exactly clean, crisp wins one side or the other. They are messy engages every time.
Oh, man. There's still a lot of Banelings sitting in the back of the lair, though. Not sure if True forgot about those or if he's just saving them for, you know, a victory blast. But he is cleaning up quite a few units on the ground of Ryung. Now he's bringing the rest of the Banelings. These are going to have to be godly splits from Ryung.
Oh, they are good enough. I don't know if they're quite godly, but they are good enough indeed. There's still a fair number of Banelings out on the map. The Marauders in front. Ryung doing good enough to pull back what Marines he has and keep them in the back. Now, the other thing is, Ryung, I don't think, has ever actually engaged with the full strength of his army because of how split back he is.
Did you see the Overlords all dance at once?
Oh, I didn't. I missed it.
Yeah, just right at the very end there. But here are the Banelings crashing in. There are Matter Meals thrown down as well, but nobody knows who's actually winning. But it looks like we are seeing a huge supply lead here for True.
Yep. And this may be it. This may be. That may have been the $40 engagement. Ryung is not leaving. He has lost pretty much every single one of the medevacs. Oh, the Marines trying to run away, but they're being stimmed just about to death. The GG comes down, and Dead Pixels True takes the 4-3 main event win over Axiom's Ryung.
Oh, man. Guys, $60 richer now. Ryung not going to go home, or I guess stay home empty-handed. He's going to get 20 for his exploits, and I guess True is going to have the last laugh. He was laughing throughout the whole game, and he is going to get the last one in. So that was a really awesome headlining match. That was great. Really, it was
a lot of fun. Like, between the banter between the players, were the games necessarily the best StarCraft 2 games ever played in existence? No, not by a long shot. But between kind of the mix-up with the cheese and the macro play, between the banter of the players, you could tell it was two friends going at it, and apparently they're roommates as well. So it's just the kind of atmosphere that this was created by Team Gravity was just so much fun. And again, maybe not the best world-class StarCraft 2 that we have ever seen, ever, but it was so much fun to cast these games, watch them go down, and of course a thank you to the players, and what a great evening of StarCraft 2.
Absolutely, man, and once again, it's been a pleasure casting with you, Cybert, that we get to do this 2 weeks in a row. We'll see what happens for next week, but
yeah, man.
It has been a blast.
It's been super fun. I, of course, have enjoyed my time casting with you as well. And our man behind the scenes at Curran TV on Twitter. Absolutely. He is super cool. He is in our ears, like we have a bigger production going on. But he's the one that makes everything look super cool. And sometimes he says funny things in our ears that you guys can't hear.
Oh, can they never hear him?
Yeah.
Oh,
no. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh,
okay. Good, because he's been saying so many mean things about the... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking about
Turn the viewers against Curran.
Nah, he's first-class professional. I'm totally just making that up. But, yeah, man, thanks to all of you viewers for watching. Thanks to the players for participating, man. It's always a pleasure to have them and witness their amazing play. As far as you viewers go, man, you had a lot of options, as always, as far as StarCraft 2 content. You stuck with us today, and I hope you feel rewarded. If you feel that way, please follow us here on hitbox.tv because we're doing this every week. You definitely want to be around to hear what we have to offer every Sunday or Saturday, depending on what's going on in the scene. But yeah, man, follow us here and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you get in on that G2A promotion, $5 for any subscriber. You get a free $5 gift card. Don't know how long that's going to last. It may just be today, so don't miss out.
Yeah, I mean, Hitbox has been doing some fantastic work with Team Gravity, putting on consistent show matches like you were talking about. Headliner matches every time are great. Just the lineup of players that Team Gravity has wrangled into these show matches is fantastic every week. It's entertaining. And of course, we thank you all very much for joining us, as Droopy was saying. The Day 9 gifts in chat are always so much fun. So thank you guys all very much for joining us once more. A thank you to the Team Gravity management and Sips, I believe, who does the graphics. Just great team all around.